I'll kind of shift gears then. I mentioned it quickly just before, but David, I'll come to you with this question just because, I do believe that there's this heightened, I'll call it scrutiny on companies, right? People just need to be a little bit more buttoned up earlier than they have had to be in the past, thinking about founders.
Yeah.
What's a typical engagement look like for you with a client? Like I'm thinking a new client comes to you. What are you evaluating first? What are the most common challenges that you see founders kind of walking themselves into when it comes to their finance, their accounting, their strategic side of it, that piece of it?
Yeah, probably the number one thing I would say is revenue. I mean, next to cash, revenue is probably going to be the most important thing for a startup to book that correctly. And we do see that pretty common. Clients come in and they've been recognizing revenue incorrectly, either based on invoicing or based on collections. So it's really important that we get the financials GAAP compliant, recognizing revenue ratably over the duration of a contract. So that's one thing. Also, just in terms of expenses, classifying expenses correctly, sales and marketing, G&A, R&D, oftentimes just kind of gets put it into one bucket, or it's alphabetical or something. But there, especially around R&D, product development, there's some really nice tax credits on that side. So it's really important that you have that segregated out. On the compliance side, again, SaaS is a little tricky. Some states require that you charge sales tax when you hit certain thresholds on SaaS, and other states you're exempt from sales tax in SaaS. So again, that's something that we can go in there, take a look, and all of a sudden we realize, ooh, geez, you actually have, sales tax nexus in 4 states and you haven't been filing, right? So there's certainly things to do on the compliance side, 1099s and 3921s for option exercises and things like this. There's a lot on the compliance side that oftentimes gets missed with a startup. So we'll kind of come in there and make sure that everything, is done properly going forward.
All right, I like that. Tax is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you actually elaborate a little bit on the revenue recognition piece? If a company's recognizing revenue incorrectly, like what challenges does that create?
Well, I mean, for one, with a SaaS company, pretty much you should be seeing your revenue more or less monotonically increasing month over month, right? It should kind of be going up stair step like this. And when clients go in and they recognize it, say on a cash basis, they might recognize the revenue for an entire year at one point in time when they get paid. So the revenue actually starts to look really lumpy. It's more, like I said, a cash basis, a collection basis, rather than doing it per GAAP, which is you're recognizing it month over month. So when you're recognizing revenue properly, you typically get this nice stair step up in your monthly revenue as you get more and more customers and add more and more contracts to that stack.
Okay, that makes sense. So basically, get a contract, year contract. If you recognize that all 1 month, then the next month, it looks like you're not growing, and then Gabby won't invest in your company is basically what we're talking about.
Well, right. If you have an annual contract that's $12,000 and a client and a customer pays you, you don't get to recognize all $12,000 that month that you collect. You have to spread it out over 12 months. So you can recognize $1,000 in the first month, but then you have to defer the remaining $11,000 and then recognize it monthly. Which is actually a really nice thing with SaaS companies, right? Because you pretty much don't post a zero once you're generating revenue. It's not like a hardware company where your revenue goes to zero on the first of every month, and then you have to build it up as you have shipments. It's recurring. Usually, most of the businesses in SaaS are recurring, so you have that base of the month before of what your revenue was, and it's just additive each month.
That makes sense. Everyone loves recurring revenue these days.